Okay, so it looked like the ones that got us the most on the factoring review were the problems that had you applied a little bit with area of a rectangle. So the key thing to remember is that area of a rectangle is always going to be length times width, or some middle schools will show it base times height. I've seen both ways, and both ways are totally fine to think of it. All right, so what they're telling you in this picture is they're saying, hey, you know what? The area equals x squared plus 8x plus 15. And we don't know the base, but we know the height is x plus 3. All right, so really what they've done in a sense is that they've done half the factoring for you. All right, now the beauty of that is I know that 15 is this piece times this piece. So that forces my hand, there's got to be a 5 there. All right, and then I also know the first is x squared in this one, so I'm going to have an x there. All right, so our length, all right, with the other dimension, is this x plus 5. All right, now, another way to look at this is we can take the x squared plus 8x plus 15, and we can just factor it using any of the methods that we're used to. You know, first is x and x. 15, you got 1 and 15, which add to 16. That doesn't work. You've got 3 and 5, which add to 8. That does work. So you have plus 3 plus 5. X plus 3 is clearly the height, so x plus 5 has to be the width. All right, and that's a very typical approach to this type of problem. And again, it's looking at area of a rectangle and using that as a model for factoring. All right, so the next problem that came up, it was really the top 3 most missed were all this. I just picked 2 of them. Is another problem very similar. So we have area of a rectangle equals base times height. All right, the area on this one is x squared minus 4x minus 12. And then they tell us the base is going to be x plus 2, and we're supposed to find the height. All right, so we know that negative 12 has to come from the product of these two pieces. So I have to have a negative 6 there. That's my only option, all right, because 2 times negative 6 gives me the negative 12. All right, and then this x squared has to come from the first pieces, so I've got to have an x there. So we're at x plus 2, all right, which was our base, and x minus 6, which was our width. All right, so the width is x minus 6. All right, and again, that's because that's the other factor there. They told us this was the base, so that's the height, or this is the length, that's the width. Either way, you want to look at labeling the variables. All right, so those were the 2 most common missed ones on the algebraic ones. Overall, the factoring itself, you guys did really well with. Not a lot of issues with those questions. All right, if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out via email. I'm happy to answer any questions. Also, we have a Q&A session tomorrow. That'd be a great opportunity to ask some questions.